McCants' book looks at the genesis of the Islamic State in 2006 and its later resurgence after U.S. troops left Iraq in 2011. McCants says the group's founders really believed that the end of the world was coming. By contrast, he says, its new leaders are focused on state building to create the caliphate as the fulfillment of prophecy.
Whether they're doing it for cynical reasons or not, we may never know, but to be sure, it is an effective recruiting pitch.
McCants says while al-Qaeda wanted to gain support in the Muslim world, the Islamic State uses brutality and fear to maintain power. He adds that for 2 years it was proven right. Since the conflict in Syria began in 2011, more than 20,000 foreign fighters, at least 3,400 of whom are Westerners, have gone to Syria from more than 90 countries, according to estimates. McCants says part of the allure lies in the group's countercultural appeal.
And the Islamic State deliberately provokes an identity crisis among Muslims, particularly living in the West. It carries out horrible acts, and it justifies those acts by citing Islamic scripture.
Some blame the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003 for the creation of ISIS, and others say it was the withdrawal of U.S. troops that left a vacuum that was filled by militants. McCants says both are true.
There would be no Islamic State if the United States had not invaded. It provided the opportunity for the organization to be founded. The second way the United States contributed is when it drew down all of its troops in Iraq. It no longer had a counterterrorism force that could be deployed against the Islamic State.
He adds Washington also made a mistake by not making a push early on in the Syrian conflict to create a large, moderate opposition to Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's rule. But Washington can still take action to counter the terrorist group, says analyst Kimberly Keegan, who testified before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee.
The United States needs to use military force as well as diplomacy, all of the nation's instruments of power, to break ISIS's capability to fight, because it's an apocalyptic enemy, and its will is not going to break.
At the same hearing, Brian Katulis of the Center for American Progress said the current policy of relying on airstrikes against the militants is not enough.
The main remedy to address these challenges is, I think, a stronger and more coherent effort by the United States to synchronize all aspects of its articulated anti-ISIS strategy and to develop a much more integrated approach to the region.
The United States may be doing just that after the apparent failure of a $500 million program to train moderate Syrian rebel forces. The Obama administration is reportedly developing plans for a more aggressive military campaign in Syria, aimed at increasing pressure on the Islamic State. This would mark an important shift in a strategy that for most of the past year has prioritized defeating the militant group in Iraq. Keida, Kostreci, VOA, Washington.